Hi, and welcome to tonight's Action Coaching Club live coaching call with answers to your most important business building questions. It's Lou Dallow here with you. Welcome to the call. Looks like we're all up and running now, which is good news. Always good when things finally come together, isn't it? So tonight we're doing a coaching call. Hopefully you received the email. Uh, because of scheduling conflict, we're going to do the training sort of virtually. I'm gonna pre-record it, and I'm going to drop it into the members area later this week, probably around Friday morning, latest, hopefully by Thursday. So tonight, instead of Thursday's coaching call, we're going to do the live coaching call tonight. And tonight, really, any question you have about the program and the structure and the checklist and so on is fair game. If you have anything you want to review in terms of what you're working on, traffic strategies, opt-in pages, sales calls, whatever it may be, perfectly fine. We want to help you to move you forward as quickly as we can, and in whatever way supports you best. So the format of the live coaching call, if you were here before, you'll be familiar with this. It's going to be round robin, which means we'll go around one question at a time. And actually, I guess I could call it one topic at a time. We don't literally take only one question, but even the follow-up questions should be about the same topic. Okay, now I want you to really honor that as much as you can so that everybody gets a chance to ask their most important question. Now, as it turns out, sometimes I'll go a little bit longer. If I go a little longer, don't worry. It means that I'm looking at my screens and I'm not seeing any other questions, and that I think we have a little more time to spend, especially when the subject I think will benefit you to hear about. But from your point of view, please understand if I say great, thanks for that, and let's move on. That we'll check back in with you. We'll get a chance to answer multiple questions once we go around. And oftentimes people just listen in; they don't ask questions. So don't worry, we'll get a good chance to answer as many of your questions as possible. And we're going to keep going until we run out of questions or run out of time. We do have, I think, an hour scheduled for tonight, but we oftentimes will go to 90 minutes, which is okay by everybody so far. So if there are enough questions, we'll go to 90 minutes. If not, we will stop whenever you have had all your most important questions answered. Now, as far as asking questions is concerned, you can raise your hand if you want me to open your phone line so we can talk live. And the way to do that is simply to press *2 on your telephone keypad, and then I'll see your hand raised, and I'll open your line. If you don't need your line open, or you prefer not to, or if writing just happens to be your style, then you could go ahead and type the question into the GoToWebinar questions box that should be displayed on your control panel. Now, what I'd recommend is, in fact, even if you do have your hand raised, that you go ahead and type your question in the field in the GoToWebinar, because sometimes if you're dialing in by Skype or by some voice over IP mechanism, sometimes the dial pad doesn't transmit properly. So you may think you have your hands raised, but in fact I may not see it. So I think what I'm going to ask you to do is just go ahead and say, hey, I have my hand raised, and give me the area code that you're dialing from so that I can find you here. Okay, your name and in fact maybe the name and the city, or the name and the area code, whatever you want. Okay, and that way I'll be able to find you and make sure I answer your questions if you're here. One more thing here, by the way, before we get into the questions. What I did want to mention to you, since we talked about, let me turn the screen on to my Gmail. Okay, there we go. So since we talked a little bit about forming mastermind groups, I thought I would try something a little different in the way of creating mastermind groups. And I'm going to let you guys sort of self-organize. So if you want to be organized by time zone, or if you want to be in an accountability buddy relationship, or if you want to be in a mastermind group, I'm going to leave it all to you. And here's how we're going to do it. So if you go to your browser and you type in gurucoaching.com / I think it's masterminds. Let's just see how this works. Yeah, there we go. So I created a Google Doc, and if you type in that URL, gurucoaching.com / masterminds, let me put it up here so you can see it better. you'll be taken to this live document, and it's a live document. So anything you type in there right now, everybody else will be able to see. So we're all sharing this document. And what I thought you could do is this. If you want to actually be in a mastermind, go ahead and type your name. So I might say, for example, Lou Dallo, and my email is lou.acc@powerupcoaching.com, and I'm going to say I'm in Eastern Time, right? And if you want to actually volunteer to lead the group, then you can just put your name up here and say Lou Dallo, right? And as you're putting your name in there, what I'd like to suggest you do is notice I have a number of these, right, where you can fill in multiple masterminds. And so just find the one that seems to suit you in terms of country or time zone. Or if you want, you can say a little bit about yourself here so people kind of know the industry you're in, whatnot. Modify it any way you want. And that way you can sort of self-organize. Look at all these folks. That's great. See, you're putting your names in there. See how cool that is? So these are people who are on the call right now, actually, logged in, and they're adding their name in. And we have 6 people logged in at this point. So now if you're in Central Time, don't sign up for a mastermind unless you think you want to be. Like if it's okay with you to be in a mastermind with folks who are in Eastern Time, then put your name in there. And if not, you might want to start a new one here if you're looking only for people in Central Time. So whatever, just fill your name in the mastermind group that you want to participate in other words, okay? So that's it. Great. So you guys are filling it out. It's working really nicely. Now, if you would rather not be, and by the way, I left room for 6 names here, and I would encourage you not to do a mastermind bigger than 6. And this way, in the mastermind format, you each get 10 minutes to ask your question and get support from the group, and in an hour you'll be done. Okay. And if you prefer not to be in a bigger mastermind group, you want to just have an accountability buddy, you can scroll down a little bit. And what you'll find is that after the mastermind groups, there's the accountability buddies groups. And this accountability buddy is just someone that you're going to talk to, every day or every 2 days or however often that you agree with your buddy, just to sort of keep you on track. This is literally where you get together for 5-10 minutes, and each person says, here's what I'm working on, here's what I've done so far, here's what I'm going to do this week. Here's what I commit to doing today, and then you sort of acknowledge each other and give each other a little high five, and get going doing it. And then the next day you'll meet and you say, okay, here's what I promised I was going to do, here's what I got done, here's what I'm going to recommit to doing today, and celebrate a little bit, celebrate your wins, give yourself a high five, and go on with your day. So if you want an accountability buddy, just scroll down the page and put your name here, name, email, and time zone, and then if you see somebody in your time zone, go ahead and put your name underneath it, and then you'll find an accountability buddy. Okay, so let's see how this is working out. Okay, this is good so far. Okay, so so that's the way that's going to work. So Arthur, I'm not sure why it's not working for you. Oh, it's masterminds plural, Arthur. It looks like you're using a URL with a mastermind singular. So go ahead and try it again if you would, and see if that works for you. I think it should be fine. Okay, so if you're wondering again, let me show you. Okay, there's the link up here. Now this is going to be live. I'm just going to leave it there. So you could this will be just I don't know, what do I say, self-evolving, self-dynamic, right? So if you happen to lose someone in your mastermind group, then you can just remove their name, and then someone who comes in, maybe new to the Action Coaching Club or whatever, looking for a mastermind group, will find somebody in their time zone and just add their name to the list. Okay, so we'll let it be self-evolving. We'll see how this goes, but it looks like it could be kind of interesting. Yeah, there you go. Good job, you guys. That's working out great. Okay, excellent. So keep working on that, and then we'll check in at the end of the call, see how you guys are all doing. But for now, we can get moving and get to the questions again. So where's my little presentation thingy? There we go. Okay. So let's go down the questions here. So Cheryl and Pia both ask about the recording for Thursday's call, and I checked with June earlier before we started the call, and it looks like they're working on it. But I understand that it's probably not up in the members area yet. Now we changed our process a little bit. We're moving files around that are quite a bit larger than we're used to moving around because we wanted to ensure the highest quality of the movies once they got in there. So it might have been, when you throw around files that big, it's possible. I had to upload it twice actually because the connection dropped and whatnot. So I'm not sure what's going on behind the scenes, but we might be just in the process of tweaking out a few things. Normally, you'll have the replay within a day or two of the call, usually within the next day. So this is a little unusual, but it's on its way. It'll be there shortly. But no, it's not in the members area just yet. Okay, sound is fine. Let me just work through some of these questions here. All right, so David says, this is David G. Not so much the program by itself, but Eben's programs in general. Is there some place that shows how all the programs interrelate? Self-made money, business protege, money psychology, guru mastermind. I found out only days before the start that I've been inundated with material. Right, David. So that's not an uncommon experience, and I always like, when I think about Eben, I think about the Beatles, right? The Beatles were like tremendously prolific, right? They just like put hit song after hit song after hit song out. And it's really easy to imagine that if you bought every Beatle album and you tried to listen to them all at once and you try to organize and figure out how they related with each other, that you would probably go crazy. And so I look at the library of content that Eben's produced over the last few years, kind of like my Beatles collection. It's all great stuff, and I'm not going to, if I think about it, I'll overwhelm myself. So I'm just going to pick the record that I need to play today, depending on what mood I'm in and how I want to feel, that's going to help me today. So there's right now the closest thing we have to making those things mesh together is if you're in the Business Protege program, there'll be a little bit of a guidance as to how to interact with them. But in the meantime, what I'd recommend is that you use the checklist to guide you through what content you need to reach. So for example, if you're working on the checklist and you're working on the niche research part, then you'll go through Guru Mastermind and look up the niche programs there, and you'll go through Protege, and you'll go through and you'll start to find out where those things are. Just search on them using the search field in the blog, and that'll help you a little bit better. So this information is really, the content is like a library. I want you to think about it. If you were going to go into the library and you thought about how in the world am I going to read all of this stuff, it'd be overwhelming. So what I'd like you to think about is the checklist as the indicator of what you need to get from the library. And with time, we're going to work on, because this is a common experience, we're going to work on seeing if we can find some kind of way to index all of that stuff. But right now, there's not a way that I'm aware of. And the closest that I can think of is the Action Coaching Checklist. That will guide you into what you need to learn, and then you'll learn where all that content is. Okay, so try real hard to just think of it as a library, because sometimes with all that stuff in front of you, not knowing where to start, it can feel overwhelming. But if you work through the Action Coaching Checklist with me, that will help to clarify everything. And as I get to know where your priorities are and where you are in the coaching checklist, then I can guide you a little bit more clearly as to which of that content might be most relevant for you at that time. Okay. So thanks, and as I'm talking about the library, I realize that when I go into the library, there's usually an index at the front door too, where I can look up exactly what I need to find. So I think that's an excellent idea. We'll see if we can find a way to make that easier for you. The challenge, I think, is probably because not everybody has all of the products. So if you make an index and then people go to look up something and they don't have it, then it can be a little bit frustrating. So it's something we're aware of, or at least I know that Eben's team is aware of, and they're working on it. And I wish I could give you, go here and click there kind of answer right now. But we're working on it, and let me help you to, work your way through it as we go through the checklist. Okay. Sherry, please will you show the URL again for the mastermind groups? Yes, I'd be happy to do that. Okay, so if you just joined the call, if you visit this link here, gurucoaching.com/masterminds, you'll come to an area in Google where you can sign up for masterminds. We got a bunch of sign up sheets here. Find somebody in your, okay, so Arthur, here's okay with PST, so here's somebody in PST that you might want to join Linnea's mastermind. Okay, Canada EST. Oh yeah, because this one, there you go. So this one's filled up. Great, you guys are doing great. Okay, so just put your name on in a table where it makes sense in terms of the time zone for you to become part of a mastermind. And if there isn't one with a mastermind that you can make, then just go ahead and start a brand new one. Put your name in a brand new group and let people sign up for your mastermind. Okay. Cheryl says, okay, great, thanks. I think you were asking about the replay, so you're welcome, Cheryl. Okay. David, so it wasn't just me. No, it wasn't just you. Bob says, when will we be setting up the initial strategy sessions? Okay, so I don't know what those are, and I'm assuming that it's probably a strategy session with one of the marketing consultants on Evan's team. And so that's independent from me, and I think the best way to find out about that is to go into the Action Coaching Club, into the support tab, and right here, okay, in the support tab, and contact Evan's support team here using one of these things. They have live support, they have voicemail, they have all sorts of good things, and you'll be able to set something up. And you know, if you're in a particular hurry to do that, go ahead and let them know, and I'm sure they'll see if they can accommodate you sooner than later. Okay, Tim, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I don't know what happened.
There you go. I don't know. It was a little glitch. Could have been on my end, actually.
Okay.
All right, how can I help?
Well, yeah, you may have seen some of the question I wrote in, but the last call I was on, I was asking you about the next step I should do on my site, and you told me that the best thing would be for me to start working on my customer avatar. So I spent some time doing that. I actually had to go back to the previous step and do a little bit more research on the niche, which was really helpful. And so I went ahead and made a list of 10 traits, 10 character traits that, you know, would be sort of a start of my customer avatar. And I actually put it in a blog post that I published today. And now I'm in the process of finding at least 100 people to interview and talk to, and to really, you know, get more details on what type of person is that I'm looking for. And my question is, do you have any suggestions on how to find the 100 people?
Well, the best way that I would recommend you look for those 100 people is to get them from your list. So if you don't have a list, then my recommendation would be first build the list. In other words, you know, how do you get those first 100 people? A lot of it has to do with reaching out and establishing some kind of rapport with them and making them an offer, you know, to give them something that's going to be of value to them. So now that you've got your avatar, you can create something that you think is going to hit on a hot button for you know, whatever you think is the biggest issue for that avatar, and then create a recording, an audio, a podcast, a special report, a slideshow, whatever you can think of, and put it out there and say, hey, if you give me your name and email address, I'll give you the solution to XYZ, whatever you determine that big item to be. And then as you get them on your list and you start giving them a little bit of content, then you can invite them into a conversation, because a lot of people, especially in your area, Tim, you could imagine there's going to be some folks who are going to be a little sensitive to just, you know, coming on and talking to someone that they've never met before about, you know, the kind of emotional thing that they're dealing with. So I mean, of course, if there's anybody you're already engaged with, you know, who might be your avatar, friends, family, co-workers, colleagues, you know, anybody like that, then of course you could always invite them. But I think before you get into that conversation, you might want to, you know, give a little value first and establish a little rapport, and then bring people in. Now, you could try, you know, as you're building your list, you could try as soon as they opt in, when you give them the download gift, to put a little video on there as well and say, hey, I'm just getting started working with people like you, and I think I understand what your needs are, and I think I understand or I have an idea of how I want to help you, but I want to make sure that I'm on target. I want to make sure that I'm giving you the information, the resources, and the support you need to accomplish X, Y, Z, whatever it is. And so, for a limited time, what I'm doing is making my coaching time available. And if you'll call and just tell me the biggest things that are on your mind, I'll give you my best attempt at helping you to resolve it instantly on the call. It'll be only 15 minutes. There's no selling at all involved here. I really just want to introduce myself and get to know what you're dealing with so that I can be of service and support to you and to many other people like you and me who have had to deal with this issue. So if you'd like to do that, here's a link to my calendar. It's absolutely free. Do that. Click here. So you could do it right on the thank you page when they're downloading the freebie. And you may find some people taking you up on that. My experience is that getting people to call you when they first just get to know you, like as soon as they give you that email address, going to be a fairly small conversion on that. Some people will take you up on it, but probably not as many as will take you up on it once they've been on your list and maybe attended one of your teleseminars or a couple of your teleseminars, or gotten some emails from you where they've gotten good value and so on. So now that you've got the stake in the ground with defining your avatar, now think about what would be, the one thing that I could tell that avatar based on what I just wrote up that would be the greatest value. What's the biggest challenge that I think that avatar is dealing with? And in your case, I guess it's safe to say he, right? We're talking about men primarily.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so we'll say, out of the avatar that I created, what's the biggest challenge that this person would be dealing with, and what's the best tip I can give them right now to help them deal with it, and then create some kind of opt-in incentive for that. And then, if you have a Facebook page, make it available on your Facebook page, put it on Twitter. If you're on Twitter or part of a forum, if you're engaged in a forum where they're discussing this thing, go in and, be part of the forum, and then say, by the way, you may want to check out this report I wrote on exactly this topic. It's got great advice. Go to my website and download it, and you drive them to an opt-in page, basically. So do you have any social media presence at this point?
Just Facebook and people that I went to high school and college with, mostly that are friends with my Facebook page.
Okay. So the Facebook page is your business page for this topic, right?
I've got a personal Facebook page, and I've got a fan page, and I've got a blog through WordPress, which is the main site, is the blog.
Okay, so start writing about it, right? Because your blog is going to give you some search engine benefit. Make sure that your blog posts get published on your Facebook, on your fan page, and I guess on your profile as well. But your profile is going to be largely your friends, so they may or may not be, your avatars exactly. So you want to focus on the fan page primarily. If you're on Twitter, make sure it's tweeted. And then go to Facebook and look around for groups where there might be people who'd be interested in this, and join a few groups and get into a discussion. Look on the Twitter feed for people who are talking about this subject and engage in the conversation. Keep blogging, and if you have if you have a few $100, what I'd recommend is you look at advertising on Facebook, or possibly even advertising on the content network, on Google's content network, on websites where they deal with these kinds of things. Spend a few $100, bring people to your opt-in page to see if you can build a list, and then start engaging with them and see if you can invite a few of them into that conversation.
So you would recommend that before doing like article marketing?
Well, my preference is paid advertising over free advertising. So I mean, the first thing that I would do is I would do paid advertising.
Okay.
But I wouldn't not do the other stuff. It's just that article marketing and Facebook, building up a fan page and getting followers, and the same thing on Twitter, and getting search engine placement and so on, takes a little bit of time, to build that up. And so if I want quick results when I'm doing testing, so advertising will get me much faster results. So I always have a little bit of a budget to try to drive those first few hundred people in, while I'm still doing the other stuff. I mean, you still can take advantage of all that, search engine free content type advertising. But when you write these things, just be sure that all of the videos that you do and all of the articles that you post and all of the blog posts and everything, it points people back. They're basically all designed to give them a little bit of value and then say, oh, by the way, and then point them to your opt-in page. So don't just put content out there. Put the content that's going to drive them back to the opt-in, and at the same time, put a few bucks, whatever you can get started with, into some paid advertising. And once you have a list of 200, 300, 400 people, then you're going to find that that's the list that most of those interviews are going to come from.
Okay, thanks.
All right, thank you. Great question, and congratulations on taking action.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Beautiful. So that's the first part of the checklist, that avatar. And the process that you heard, and you I don't know if you're new to action coaching and this is the first time you've heard me say that, it may be a little bit different than what you've heard from other folks talking about, getting your site up and testing it. I'm a real big fan of not waiting 6 months before I realize that, what I'm assuming to be my avatar and the hot buttons and so on turns out to be entirely wrong. So I like to test it out first by advertising. Some people will say, well, sure, but then I'll spend $300-400 and I won't get any results. Well, that may be true, but the alternative, if you think about it, if you're wrong, i.e. if you're not getting results from advertising, that means you either don't have a market, or you don't have the right message for that market, or you're not reaching the market in a way that's interesting to them. Well, if you don't find out after spending a few $100, you'll find out after you post all your blogs and you do all your videos and you develop a fan page and you write a bunch of articles, and and then you realize after you start finally showing up in the search engines that nobody's reading your stuff. You got the wrong keywords, you got the wrong message, you're not hitting on the emotional hot points. Boy, I'd rather spend $300 and find that out today than to spend 6 months of my time, money, and energy and find out then. The other part of it is if you do your advertising and then you find the part that works, well, now you're in great shape, because now you have a really clear idea of what to write about and what to do videos about and what to do blog posts about, because you found out through the advertising what your customers value. And so it just leverages all of the SEO and the free stuff if you can do a little bit up front. Now, sometimes we don't have the budget or whatever to do that, but I would encourage you as soon as possible to set aside a few $100s a month if you can, and do a little bit of paid advertising. It will get you it'll get you results quick. You'll either build a list, or you'll know you're not connecting with that market. All right, so Pia, let me try Pia again. All right, I think I opened your line. Pia, are you there?
Yes, I am.
All right.
Hello, we succeeded.
We did indeed. Nice to have you here.
Thank you.
I'm going to hop over to your site here in a second. YourAmazingPower.com.
That's about happiness, and that's my problem, because I chose apparently the wrong name.
I'm sorry, you chose what?
Well, I don't have my keyword in the URL.
Oh, okay. Well, that's okay, because I mean, that happens sometimes. Think about this as your brand, and just make the content rich with keywords. Okay, I mean, it's always better, right? It's always nice if you have a keyword in your domain, but then there are so many keywords that you can optimize on, and sometimes you don't find the one that's going to fit in your domain. So there are lots of people who use their names in the domain. Well, that's not really a keyword-rich domain, right? But you're going to be okay if the content in your blog is indicative of the keywords that you want to use.
Okay.
So
I did mention the keyword in the first line. That's how to be happy.
Exactly.
And if I use Market Samurai, and there, if you don't have a full green line or red line, then you're not as strong. And one of one of the places where you can get a nice red line is on the URL, if you have your keyword in the URL.
Absolutely, sure. It's better if you do have it, but if you don't, then you make the best of it by bolstering it in your content.
Okay, because I was wondering whether I had to change something, and I'd rather do it now than later if I had to. Because I wrote this ebook about, I actually started out, I wrote it basically for my kids, and it's about how to be happy. And later on, I kind of directed it to a niche, which is the wrong way, of course, to do things.
Right.
So I'm not sure.
Well, so let me ask you to take a step back and just kind of give me an idea of, I mean, I guess there's people in all walks of life who might be interested in happiness. So tell me who you are thinking about would be interested in the Perpetual Happiness Machine. What a great title. Who are you speaking to, and what are they looking for online that when they see your book they're going to go, this is what I need?
Well, they're looking for a change of lifestyle. They may be bored with their job. They may not like their job. They may have it's not the life they dreamt about when they were younger. They're probably between 30 and 45, I would say, and they want to change their lifestyle. That's one group. They could even be in a family. It might not work out, or it might work out, or they are single again. That kind of thing. But the fact is, they want to try to fulfill something they once dreamt about.
Okay.
And that they have not obtained, and so this is a help for them.
Okay. Well, I think that, I think a lot of people like the idea of being happy, but I would be surprised. I'm not sure. Well, maybe let's go into the Google keyword tool, but I'd be surprised if, happy by itself wouldn't necessarily be the term you want to search on. So let me just go here.
Because it could also be used for instance, relationship. I've written some articles that you won't even find on my blog, but that are about relationships and families and kids and my kids, your kids, other people's kids, how it all works together and how to handle different situations, and that kind of relationship with a slight touch on the sexual could be interesting. It could also go that way. It's actually so general in a way that it could be aimed for almost anything. It's 10 steps to get a great life.
Right, and I think that you've hit on the main issue that I think I would be concerned about, which is that it's so general that it's hard to figure out what message you want to share with whom. So I think my first question, I guess, is you talked about people who are just coming out of divorce. You're talking about people who are older now and maybe didn't have the life develop it quite the way they want. I mean, there's all sorts of these other avatars you could develop. But if you look at happy here, see, there's not a lot of people looking for how to be happy. We've got happy meals, happy days, happy birthday, in pursuit of happiness. I mean, there's all sorts of things here that have nothing to do with getting people to come over and find your book. So what I would recommend is that you continue the thought process that you just started now while we were talking, and that is to think about the specific things that people are unhappy about and that they would want to move towards happiness, right? So in your case, for example, and let me see if this will work. So this is happy, okay? And what I would do is say, well, where are people not happy, okay? And that they want to become happy, and that your book is the way for them to become happy. But you're not going to find a lot of people necessarily here. I think you need to find people here, for example, who are lonely in their old age, who are unfulfilled in their career, who lack purpose, who have, who are suddenly single, who have been widowed, or whatever else. And you find those experiences, and then you do the keyword research on which one of these experiences are very heavily searched for. Like, how do I deal with a divorce, or what can I do now that my kids are gone, or how to find love in my old age, or whatever else. And so find as many different ways of saying not happy as you can, and then see if some of those keywords would be a good fit to come through your book to reach happiness. So I think you started here, and now you're trying to go out to the niches. What I'd like you to do is do exactly what you were just doing a second ago when you were talking, which is to just spend time thinking about who are these people, what is their experience, and then see if you can find the keywords that will locate them, or the websites where they are present that you could advertise on, or some of the demographics, social graphics, and value graphics that you could use Facebook to drive people to your book.
Uh-huh.
Okay?
Yeah. Well,
I know it's a big job, right?
yeah, I've actually been thinking a lot about which group I should choose, and I think it's really hard to pick one group, because I think I've been looking via Samurai and Google to find out where I should go. For instance, when the kids are gone, that's a big problem that I can talk hours about, and represent so many problems and good solutions also. But there's not one word that covers that, I think.
Well, it's not, you know what, when I look at this, I don't think about the word specifically. I think about the need. I think about what experience are they having, and then what do they need? Do they need, to relieve stress? Do they need to find fulfillment? Do they need to find a husband? Do they need to deal with divorce? And some of those things will give you some ideas. And then for me, the idea is to go through and, the niche test we talk about. So in your case, you're already dealing primarily with relationships. But what about people who are bankrupt? Maybe you have a way to deal with them. What about people who are in debt? What about people who are unemployed? I mean, do you have an affinity for any particular kind of group? I mean, is there a group that that you connect with regularly that you can help especially well?
The ones I've gotten positive response from are the relationship thing. But I have a kind of soft spot for the economic thing, because I personally have been very bad at it, and I have learned a lot, and I think a lot of people need to learn a lot, but I'm not the one to decide what they need. But I think there is a need there of some kind that a lot of people also feel.
Okay, so so there's two groups that you said were, they're pretty interesting already. So people who are financially in need, and then people who are in need relationship-wise. Now just from hearing that, what came up for me was, if I'm in debt, I don't know that I want a financial solution. I don't want a happy solution. But if I don't have a relationship, I might be more open to the idea of, well, maybe I can be happy first, and then I'll find that relationship. In other words, happiness could be the answer to, I don't have a relationship. But happiness, I don't think, would be the answer to, I can't make my mortgage payment. And so I mean, just intuitively, the first place I think I would look would be in the relationship area. And you could talk about, purpose, fulfillment, divorce, people who've been cheated upon. How do I survive a cheating spouse? All these kind of situations. How do I find the love of my life? If you wanted to, you could narrow down on one specific group, and then start with saying, hey, just because you're single doesn't mean it's the end of your life. Learn to be happy. Attract the mate of your dreams. So you can maybe start with that communication and bring them into the conversation around happiness. In your ebook, do you talk about any specific person or experience or situation?
Yes, I have a lot of different stories. And my angle that I like very much is sport also.
I'm sorry, what was that? The angle you
Sport.
like is
Sport.
sport.
Tennis.
Oh, okay. Like tennis, sport, like hockey,
Yes.
baseball, sport. Okay.
Tennis.
Okay.
Tennis and hockey, yes, I like that, and baseball.
So-
Actually, you got them, and golf too.
Okay, so what's the relationship between sport and happiness?
Um, well, to me, it is doing the sport makes your body so. It makes you, it's body and soul thing. Doing the sports, having the challenge, makes you feel you grow, and that way it makes you happy, and it actually also makes you able to do other things very
Okay.
well.
Okay, got it. But that's part of your solution, right? That's part of your
Yes.
okay,
Okay.
recommendation. So what?
Oh, you're thinking about the problem.
Right. Who
Oh.
would be
Oh.
happy to hear you say that?
The problem is that a lot of sports people they do sports in a younger age, and they get used to a different lifestyle than they're able to keep up later in life.
Okay.
And they need,
But these people who are not able to do sports later in life, if you now say to them, do more sports to be happy, that's probably
Oh.
not going to be a good match, right?
yeah, okay, that is true too.
Yeah. Okay. So I think what I would recommend to you is this: take some time, and you know what? Don't worry, because sometimes this takes, you have to go around in circles and dig a little bit deeper, because you have a very broad subject, this idea about happiness. And what I would do if I were you is just keep making a list. Every time you think of someone who's not happy, okay, this person's not happy because they just lost a job. This person's not happy because they just got divorced. This person's not. And then what I would do is then I'd start looking for the keywords around, losing a job, losing a spouse, being cheated on, being lonely, being older, and all those kind of things. And then I would see if I could find some traffic around those keywords to see where there's a lot of interest, and maybe then I'd start writing articles and blog posts and so on for that audience. So if, for example, I went onto Google, and by the way, Market Samurai, the way they talk about the golden triangle thing, that's good for search engine optimization, okay? But for traffic, for volume, don't worry about the long tail keywords. What you're looking for is the most volume possible. So don't narrow down and don't go into the long tail and everything else, because that's designed to find a very small niche that you can advertise and show up on page 1 for. What you want to do is then look at the shorter version of it. So for example, if it might say, how can I ever be happy after a divorce? If that's the long tail phrase that you optimize on, that's fantastic. But for you, the keyword is divorce in there. And so you want to see how much traffic there is around divorce. And then so you compare how much interest there is around divorce with how much interest there is around cheating spouses, with how much interest there is about, change in life or any of those things. And wherever there's the most interest and the most traffic, then you start drilling down into those niches and say to yourself, okay, so how can I, what are these people looking for, and how can I share with them that they could, find the mate that they're looking for, or they could overcome the sadness of divorce, or they can become whole again after losing a spouse or whatever with my book. And then you can reach out to those audiences through the keywords. Okay, because I think the subject is a little bit broad, and it's the outcome you're trying to create. What I want you to do is kind of look through the other side of the telescope and look at all of the small little places, all of the individual experiences that people have, where you could say, oh, I really empathize and I have compassion for your experience, but can I interest you in getting past it and being happy, right? And so, you need to figure out where most of that interest lies in a way that you'd be able to help them.
Okay.
Okay. So would you?
I have one short little question there.
Okay, but would you do me a favor? Would you take that on as an exercise and maybe come back next week and let me know how you're doing? Just brainstorm all of the different ways and all the different people that you think their experience for. And actually, if you're on the call here, let's give Pia some help. So I want you to type in on the call who you think. Let's do a little survey here. So you're on the call. Go to your questions box and say to me, who do you think would be interested in learning how to be happy right now? What's their current situation that they would like to get out of so they can be happy again? And let's see what comes to mind here. Maybe we'll have some ideas to get you started with, Pia. Okay, our depression. Okay, great. There's one. If you're depressed, divorce is another one. Okay, think about people in your life. What situation are they in that they're unhappy? Or think about yourself. What situation have you been in before where you've been unhappy?
Right.
Here we go. A jerk boss. Yeah, really. people who don't like their job. Loss of a loved one. Overcoming loss. A huge market will be the newly single elderly. I think that would be, single elderly. Financial problems, retirement with no money, alcohol abuse, unhappiness from over self-involvement. I'm not sure that that's a specifically visual experience, but yeah, if you're too absorbed with yourself, I mean, how can you really be happy if all you think about is yourself? So, but what's the circumstance there? Here, don't like their career. There's another one. So there's lots of good ideas there. See, controlling parents.
Everybody.
Controlling parents, feeling stuck, someone who lost their child. There's another one. Right? So that's a great list, you guys. Thank you very much. So Pia, maybe you can just start with those ideas and then develop more and then do a little keyword research to find out where the greatest level of search traffic is, and that might give you a place for you to drill down. Here's another one: women that can't get pregnant. You know what? I bet that's a great one. Women that can't get pregnant, or maybe even men, but especially women, right? That you can help them to be happy even if they can't be naturally moms.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is that giving you some ideas, places to start?
Oh, absolutely. That's great.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Yep. You're welcome.
Can I ask just one more question? I'm actually sitting here with a paper book of the same thing in my hand on 200 pages, and it's coming out on Amazon next week. And I'm writing the press release, and I am not sure. I wanted to direct it. I got sick last week, that's why I wasn't on the Thursday call. But I wanted to direct the press release somehow, and I'm a little in doubt how to do that because I feel it's too general, and I could direct it somehow to narrow it down.
Okay. Well, let's take a little breather since we've sort of given a lot of thought to this. I want to sort of recalibrate my mind here. And
Yeah.
let me ask you to just hold on to that question, and let me take one or two more questions, and we'll come back to you and check in a little bit later. Fair enough?
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm going to leave your hand up so that I'll come back to you a little bit later. Mitchell, in looks like 386, but you're from Philly. I know where you are. You're right here. It says Daytona Beach, Florida on the call, but I got you. Hi, Mitchell.
Hey, Lou. How's it going?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm well.
Beautiful. How can I help, sir?
Yeah, I've been kind of a rut here. I've made a lot of progress, and then I hit a wall. I'm trying to. I have a free report. I tried to advertise on Facebook and get some traffic to my free report. Facebook was not very friendly with my advertising. I changed around my ads a couple of times, but I wasn't getting the click-throughs. So I thought I'm thinking it's my ad, copywriting skills, and also my report. I don't think it's hitting on enough hot buttons. So I went through Eben's Google Traffic School, and I came up with some good headlines for my new report, and I'm going to rewrite a different report that's hitting on some more hot buttons. But I was kind of confused when I went through the checklist about the freeline content. I saw they had Mike Going's 10 by 10 by 4 strategy in there, where you write 10 FAQs and 10 SAQs. But I was kind of confused about which freeline content should I use first? You know, should I have the articles out there, and then they drive to my opt-in page, and my opt-in page has my free report as an incentive, or should they just drive traffic straight to my opt-in page, like through pay-per-click or some other, some other way to get, a kind of conversion that way? So I was really confused on that.
Well, so take a step back for me and tell me who your market is and what you're doing for them.
Hey, sorry about that. My website actually right now is rapidrippedabs.com.
Okay, hold on a second. Say it again. Rapid Ripped Abs?
Rapidrippedabs.com.
Okay.
And it's in the fitness niche, obviously. That's me up in the corner up there.
Man, you're in good
that's
shape.
my report that I have right now. And I got the sales phone. Everything's on ClickBank. It's all running and stuff. I got a little bit of an email autoresponder going. I don't have much of a list because I haven't been able to get traffic to the site like I want to. But I'm teaching guys how to slim down, how to lose the gut, how to, and it takes you right to the free report right there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the free report, and yeah, I'm showing guys how to get a six-pack pretty much.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you're going to have a challenge right off the bat in terms of the level of competition in this market.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's a busy market, heavily competed. So the work that you do for search engine is probably not going to be terribly effective right away, because you're likely dealing with the competitors having a large amount of backlinks and a large amount of content already, and so breaking into the the top page or pages is going to be particularly challenging, I think. So so then the question becomes, well, what can you do instead? So I mean, I think you can still go ahead and write articles, and you can still do videos and all those kind of things, but just kind of understand, even if you optimize the bejeebers out of it, you're going to be dealing with a lot. This is a heavily competed marketplace, this one here. So something like I think the first thing that I would recommend is that you dig deep into the keywords to find out if there's any way you can get an idea about what it is besides a six-pack that your avatar really wants. So is it fast? Is it at home? Is it without exercise? Is it based on nutrition? Is it I don't know what else it could be.
Yeah, actually, I've been doing a lot of keyword research on the whole six-pack topic, and it's not a really heavily searched keyword in terms of volume, and the traffic around it. It kind of drops off a lot after you hit six-pack. You start hitting the words around it, and you start getting a little bit of long tail keywords, and the traffic starts to drop off dramatically.
Yeah.
So it's not as heavily searched as you would think it would be.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I know a couple of guys who are in this market, and let me tell you, they do a lot of work to win their spots, and they spend a lot of money advertising too. ABILEET. Yeah. So there's still 823, 600, 500. I mean, it's not negligible. Let me just do this. Six-pack abs. Yeah. So six-pack, lose weight fast. These are all, look, they're hundreds of thousands of searches every month, and my guess is six packs, well, that's probably beer, but let me go ab workouts. You see, that's a little weird that there's not a lot of competition here, but I'm guessing it's probably because has more to do with the longer tail here. So get a six-pack. Where's six-pack abs? Yeah, there's only like a few 100,000. Okay, so yeah, it's not millions a month, right? But it's still 100, 150, 200,000 a month. So At the very lowest level you have here, six-pack abs, you have 165,000 a month. And that's without counting six-pack abdominals, six-pack abdomen, abs, six-pack. So these are like a million searches right in the bottom half of the phrase here. So it's busy. Now I don't really believe that it's this uncompetitive. Not sure why, but my experience with working with people in the field show me a different story. But you know, Google doesn't think it's that heavily competed. You know, there's one good way to find out is to bid on these keywords and see if you can actually show up high enough. If this really is not getting any competition, you shouldn't have to pay a whole lot to show up in Google AdWords. But I'm thinking you're going to probably find it's going to cost you a bit to get on page one, because let's just look at Google. If I type in six-pack abs, right?
Mm-hmm. That's why I was kind of more so going toward Facebook than the Google right away. I know Google's still heavily inundated. Facebook is getting inundated as well.
It is,
But,
yeah. I mean, this is just a really busy market. So you're gonna, you know, I mean, look, there's only 1, 2, 3, 4 ads here. I mean, that's not outrageous by any stretch, right? So so you could show up at least like in the 5th position here. So it's not the top, but maybe you'll get a good ad here, you know. But
Yeah.
you know, you've got a lot of, like, for search engines, you've got your advertising. I mean, there's a lot of stuff here in search engines, right? So you probably would do better to try to steal a placement here and try to, you know, maybe pay 50 cents, 75 cents and get on the ad column here on the tower for words like six-pack abs, which, you know, look, there's a million and three-quarter results. I mean, that's competition, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, no doubt.
yeah, so I think what I would do is probably stay away from the search engine optimization stuff, because it's just way too much competition. But look here, there's not a whole, I mean, it's not like it has, you know, 700 ads. So you know, I might be able to place even put a 4th or 5th place in the AdWords here in the columns. But I think even more, I would start looking for, well, Facebook is getting really busy with abs, and so it's a little bit more challenging, but I would still advertise on Facebook just because of the sheer number of people that are on there. You know, you're going to get your fair share. I don't know whether this opt-in page you have is going to be enough to convert. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, have you tested this?
I mean, I tested it, you know, with as much as I could with, you know, with Facebook ads, but like I said, I wasn't really getting too many conversions on my clicks. So
How much traffic did you drive there? How many people visited this page?
maybe about 100.
Oh, okay. And how many people opted in?
To check and see, about 10 or so.
Well, you're getting a 10% conversion. That's not bad. You know, it'd be great to get, you know, 20%, but I think that's a great start. 10% is not bad at all. So good. Keep up the Facebook advertising, but just know that Facebook is going to be really sensitive to these kinds of, you know, get fit fast kind of advertising. This is one of the areas where they're particularly they're going to be especially careful about what you say and what you promise. Now, the other thing that you could do here is you could you know, sometimes different layouts and different formats, and you know, I think what I would experiment with. So first of all, let me say that the number one thing you should test is your headline, right? Because this may or may not be the highest converting headline. We don't know. So 10%, that's not a bad place to start. Now, here's what I would probably do here is I would probably create something that has this here. Right, so put the book here and say, you know, free download, and then here either put a video of you or put some bullet points here that tell them what is it in this book that they're going to find out that they won't find anywhere else, that they must absolutely, you know, opt in for, that's going to compel them to opt in. Okay, so because right now the only bullet, if you will, the only benefit that you have for getting people to opt in is that they get a free report with 5 deadly mistakes. But if you could hit on the hot buttons here, see, this is a good place to test your hot buttons of your avatar, the things that you think are really important, both in terms of what they want and also what they want to avoid. And write a couple of really good bullets here, and then at the end say, so opt in right now and download this book instantly, right? So so that you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 headlines instead of just the one, and one of these bullets might trigger people to opt in. Whereas if the headline fails, the headline fails. You got nowhere to go, right?
Gotcha.
So so that, I think I would experiment with that, and then yeah, I think the picture in this market looks really good, so I would probably leave that in there. But at the same time, I would also try, just as a test. It's always interesting to me when you do this, when you I can't scroll you off the page, but imagine that I could scroll you off the page, and then just look at what would the page look like if the first thing that people saw was this headline, right?
Okay. Yeah, I remember Evan talking about the visual hierarchy.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
my rapid ripped abs is the first thing you see, and then me, versus my headline being the first thing you see on the page.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the first thing you see is fit with Mitch, and then rapid ripped abs, and then you, and then the headline. Exactly. So what you might want to experiment with is, if you like, I think you look great in this picture. I mean, talk about, hey, I want to look like that. I mean, that I would think that that's going to help to convert. But instead of putting it here in the title, put it like beside the headline, and then say, hi, I'm Mitch. I want to show you, I want to give you a free report where I reveal 5 deadly mistakes that every guy makes. See, right now I don't know whether that's stock photography or not. But if you put it right here and you're quoting yourself, then I'm going, geez, this guy looks like that. He's probably got something to teach me.
I got you.
Right? So I think you're doing really well, actually. 10% is not a bad way to get started, So you got a good start. And now what I would do is probably just experiment with a couple of different looks and feels, and definitely try a few different headlines. And then when you start putting bullets in here, and they start to convert, then I would sort of shift around the bullets, because what generally happens is people will read 1 or 2 of them, 1, 2, or 3 of them. So you want your best stuff at the top, and then as you start to navigate stuff up and test it, you'll know which ones are working. 100 people is not enough of a test. It's a great start, but it's not enough, because I could flip a nickel 100 times and get heads 90% of the time, and then I would think it's always heads. So try to do 200 visits of A and B before you decide whether it's working or not. And then let's
A and B means different versions of the landing page?
Yeah, exactly. Now on well, even if you don't do different versions, I mean, you could do 200 of A and then tweak something and do 200 of B, and then tweak something, do 200 of C, and then figure out which one works best of those 3. Right? You don't have to split test if you don't want to.
I was only able to get a few people to the page because, like I said, my click through on Facebook was just dropped off dramatically, and like AdWords, they stopped showing your ads if your click through is bad. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, but you got to remember too that in Facebook you're not going to see like 1 or 2 or 3% like you would on search. You're going to see 0.1, 0.15, 0.8. It's going to be pretty low because it's not search; it's just display advertising, right? So. As long as your ad shows up, you're okay. Just just monitor that. But listen, if it will happen. Your ad will not run forever at the same rate. So if you notice that that's happening, then change something around. And you have to think about something here too. That there's a flow, right? I mean, I'm trying to figure out how to clear this. Whiteboard. Yeah. Okay. So you have to keep in mind that there's a couple of different elements to your process, and you want to sort of check how each one is working. So first is the display ad, and then is your opt-in page, and then is your book. Okay. So you first want to see how many people see your ad, and how many people actually click on it. Then you want to see how many people see your opt-in page and how many people click on that. And then from the book, I'm guessing you're going to have links in the book that are going to drive people to do what? To buy or to call you or what?
My book is see, I had a friend that's doing very well on Facebook, so I optimized it with his critique. So my book has links to my sales page, I think.
Okay, good. That's fine. Perfect. So then you want to track, so you're going to put tracking links in here, and you want to see how many people come to your sales page, right? And then you also want to see how many people actually buy. So at any point here, you don't want to make the assumption, for example, that your book is not converting well, because the problem may be how many clicks you're getting through. If you say, well, I had 100 people opt in, but only got no sales, well, that's, if 100 people saw the book and nobody clicked through, the problem is not with your sales letter. The problem is with the call to action in the book.
Okay.
Right? So you want to track this and find out where you need to optimize. Sometimes you're going to want to optimize the ad, sometimes you're going to optimize the opt-in page, sometimes your content piece, and then sometimes your sales letter. It's a system, right? And so it's no good to just say, hey, I didn't make any sales today. I got 100 clicks and I got no sales. Well, right, but how many people opted in? Oh, I got 40 people opted in. Well, that's pretty good. How come I got no sales? Well, because nobody clicked through from the book to the sales letter. Oh, okay. I better go in and change the book.
I got you.
Yeah. Okay. So are you tracking each of these?
I have Optimizer on my page.
Okay.
And of course, Facebook lets you track your ads.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't have tracking links in my book.
Okay.
And I don't have tracking links in my autoresponder.
Beautiful. So that's a great step to take next, is to make these tracking links, and then use the tracking feature of your autoresponder as well, so that you can see well, first of all, you want to make sure that people are reading your stuff and clicking through, right? And then you want to know which one they're clicking through on the most, and put those towards the front of your sequence. Okay, so
And, I guess I haven't done that because I don't know how to.
yeah, and I mean, if you're using Aweber, they'll have tracking links. All you have to do is there's a little checkbox that will say enable tracking links, and you go yes, and it'll be all done for you. And that'll probably be the case also with most autoresponders. They'll have an option where some kind of tracking. They'll be able to track how many people open the email and how many people click on the links. So just follow up with the instructions. Depending on which autoresponder you're using, there will be different ways to do it.
Yeah, I have Aweber, but I mean, I know I did tracking links in that, but in terms of the book, tracking links in the book.
Yeah, so the book, what you can do is a couple of things. You can do something like, for example, let me see. So there's a program called Tracker 202, and I think it's on the website
I think I've heard of that.
prosper202.com. Okay, and what this will do is you install this program on your domain, and then what you can do is, instead of, for example, if in the book you normally you would say go visit Mitch.com, then instead what you'll do is you'll create a tracking link called trackurl.com/booklink1, and it will direct people to the destination, but this is what you put inside your book, not this, right? You put the tracking link in, and it'll take people to where you want to get them to, but it's going to count how many people actually click on it. Now, if you want to, in the meantime, there's also there are also a whole bunch of, if you don't want to install the software and go through all this, you could use things like BudURL, which is a service which does that for you, budurl.com. There's tinyurl.com. One that people like a lot today is bit.ly. Google has one too. I think it's called goog.le or something like that. I'm not sure. You have to check that out. Googly, maybe? I don't know. Or I don't know. Anyway, look for link shortener. in Google, and you'll find a whole bunch of these services. So Bud URL is good. Bitly is popular. There's another one called snipurl.com, and most of these they'll redirect and they'll keep track of how many clicks each link got. Okay, so these are services you can use for free. Now, some of them have premium versions as well, but to get started, you can just make sure just use it for free. So Travis says it's goo.gl, Google. Okay, so they've just created this link shortening and tracking service as well. So any of these will work to get you started, and then you could go to something a little fancier like Tracker 202 later.
Okay, so on the short end, I'm going to work on putting the links in the book. I'm going to work on my landing page and putting the bullets and moving the picture around and stuff like that. So on the short end, to get traffic, you suggest I stick with Facebook or go to AdWords?
I would stay with Facebook because it sounds like you're getting some traction there, and focus on getting the best out of that you can before you start introducing AdWords is a whole nother level of complexity and cost and all that kind of stuff. So I would say, see if you can bump up the traffic, and maybe whatever you find out will work as a headline or an ad or as an offer in Facebook, then you can take it over to AdWords and you'll have already tested it.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Thanks, Lou.
Awesome. You're welcome. And please check back and let me know how it goes. All right.
Okay. I definitely will.
All right. Thank you. Geez, I wish I could develop abs like that. My God. Oh, Mitchell, you scare me. You're in such great shape. Okay. David says, I'm thinking. Oh, wait, hold on. Let me do this in order here. I said it was first come, first serve, so let me try to do that. Okay, Pia, we already spoke to. Pia, I don't know if we're going to get back to your second question. We might have to do that on the next call. Are you going to be posting this call? Yes, we will, of course. And Joe says, hi, Lou. I'm still at the stage of figuring out what my niche is, so I don't necessarily want to stay in my current profession, real estate, unless you can convince me it's a good choice, because this is where most of my experience is, but I'm not sure if it's a good idea, as the services provided is offline once the lead is converted. Any thoughts or situation on how to get into the right niche? Well, Joe, for years and years and years and years, I was in the telecommunications business, and I was in management and executive and sales and marketing roles. And you would think, therefore, that the logical thing for me to do when I started my business and found my niche was to make use of all that experience. Well, I didn't. I decided I'd had enough, and I went into a bunch of other things. But weirdly enough, a year later, I came back around to the things that I was good at. Isn't that interesting, right? So I tried spiritual coaching, relationship coaching, life coaching, all this kind of coaching, and I realized that what I spent most of my time doing was helping coaches build their businesses. And then one day the light went on. I went, oh, I get it. I'm better at helping people with business than I am at their relationships. So there I was back to it. So I think that unless you're really unhappy or you just need a break, and sometimes we do that. Sometimes we need to make shake things up and try something new. I think there's an opportunity to take a look at the current real estate profession and kind of say, well, what is it about it that I'm not enjoying? Maybe that offline mode is something that you don't enjoy, running people around selling houses or something. Well, and then you say, well, maybe what I'm going to be is an online lead generator, and then I'm going to pass the leads off to other agents. I'll qualify them. I'll bring them into a teleseminar, teach them how to buy a house, and then I'll say I have agents that can help you, find houses in your neighborhood, and then give them a listing of local agents that you get a referral fee for referring them, so you don't have to do all that offline stuff. So there may be a lot of different ways to skin the cat, and I think the first thing you want to do is take a deep breath and say, am I done with real estate, or is it just that I haven't been able to figure out how to make it so that I enjoy the experience? Because heck, when you've built up that much experience, that much knowledge, and all the leverage points in an industry, I wouldn't walk away from that too easily. So the first thing I think I would do is say, am I into this? Am I willing to do it? Do I enjoy it enough that if I could find the business model that would make it work, I'd like to keep doing it? And if the answer to that is yes, then I would probably do a little bit of what I just kind of did off the top of my head, which is let me look at the entire flow from when people first get the idea that they want to buy or sell a house, and what steps do they go through, who's involved, and where could I jump in with information or training or education or coaching, or could I connect people to resources and get referral and affiliate fees? Like, I would look at all those things that I could do online or virtually, that would maybe be at the front end of the funnel, and who knows, maybe at the back end once they've bought the house. Could I give them, could I arrange with, for example, Home Depot or something, to continue staying in touch and educating people. Well, you've bought your house, it probably needs a little bit of fixing up. Let me, introduce you to a weekly series I have on, design and decor and fixing up your house and renovating the basement with my expert, Joe Handyman, and whatever else. So there's probably a lot of ways that you can sort of envelop that experience with information or online marketing if what you're saying is, I don't like the offline part of it, right? And so I know with real estate that if you give someone a lead or you refer someone to an agent, you're going to get a commission on it, or part of it anyway. So that might be, the model that you choose. So I guess I would say that there's lots of opportunity in that niche, and there's lots of opportunity to make it interesting in terms of how you play in it. But I would definitely suggest look inside first and make sure that you're into it, because no amount of, if the business model is right and the timing is right, the marketing is right, everything is right, but you're not, in other words, you're not into it, it's going to either be a tough slug or you're just not going to have the results that you could have otherwise, in which case you might be off starting something new. Okay, so I guess I'll leave that with you to reflect on for tonight, and then maybe you can tell me, how that resonates with you, and whether you've sort of made a choice that, okay, I'm going to make real estate work, or I'm done. And then we'll continue the conversation at that point. Sound fair? Okay, Mitchell, Brian, is there any part of the ebook that speaks specifically to particular needs like divorce or addiction? Then it would be really good to give out a part of that chapter for that niche. Oh, this is for Pia. Okay. So Pia, Brian is saying, if there's any part of the ebook that speaks specifically to particular needs like divorce or addiction, then it would be really good to give out that part of the chapter for the niche, or for her to tell Pia's story with a particular attention to anything that she says she overcame herself. Yeah, great idea, Brian. And so what? If I'm interpreting this correctly, Pia, what Brian is suggesting is, if, because I remember you said that there are things in the book that appeal to a lot of different people in different situations. And so if chapter 4 appeals to people who are dealing with divorce, then maybe that's the free report. That is the opt-in bribe that you drive traffic from people who are being divorced. And then they get that chapter, they really like it, and then you say, well, if you want to learn all about being happy, in your divorce and otherwise, then check out the book. So that's a great idea, Brian. Yeah, good suggestion. And thanks for contributing. Cheryl says, are most of the sites in our group related to self-help? Nope, I don't think so. I think we found a bunch of different things, but I think that we have a lot. We'll find out, right? Because action coaching is a little bit new, so we haven't been through as many sites yet as we might and as we will. But I think when you're dealing with information marketing, there's a tendency to find people who have a message to share, right? And usually that's transformative. So we're talking about teachers and coaches and speakers and so on. So I wouldn't be surprised if we found a fair bit of things related to self-help. But for sure, we have things, sites other than self-help. We had Nate, I guess, being a pickup artist is self-help in a way. So, okay, let's see. So Robert says, perhaps Mitchell can target his keywords more in a geographic area regarding abs and shoot videos to 10-15 submission sites. That will earn his way on the first page on Google. Yeah, I don't know too much about that whole process, but that's using local advertising in places. I think you're thinking about Google Places, Robert, perhaps. And Mitchell, that might be an option for you as well. I still, when you're paying for advertising, I still like the idea of focusing on one marketing channel, managing your budget and trying to optimize it before you go on to another one. But I think what Robert's recommending could actually be free. Just getting, just figuring out how to get onto Google Places. When you talk about keywords, then you could look. I don't know that he'd want to probably do geographic area. It'd be a little bit too limiting for what he's doing, because he's not a local business. But I think being in Google Places and showing up in a geographic area specifically when you're doing some ads, Robert, can make a lot of sense. So yeah, good idea there. Mitchell, I hope you're still on the call and took that down as a note. Brian says, to what extent should you use Google AdWords and Facebook ads for initial testing? Example, mostly Facebook okay or Google ads better the best, and what should you be willing to pay, and how do you decide what per click is worth testing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so lots of good questions here, and there's no definitive answer to this, Brian, other than I did a session on traffic in Guru Bootcamp, and my claim on that session was it's not about how much you pay for the advertising, it's about how much you profit from your advertising. So in other words, if I said to you, hey, are you willing to pay $10 a lead for your ad, and then your answer shouldn't be just no way. It should be, let me think about it. For every lead I get, I know that the value of that customer is $100. So sure, I'll pay you $10 for that lead, right? Because you just made a $90 profit. But when you're first starting out, you don't know those things. You have to sort of test it and get some metrics in place and find out, how much competition there is and what kind of click-through you can get and so on. So if you're just starting out, my recommendation to you is don't worry about that stuff right off the gate. Just make a bid and pay as much as you're willing to and see how much traffic you get. And if it's enough traffic, then you're in great shape. If it's not enough traffic, be willing to pay a little bit more, because you're not going to necessarily be paying that forever. See, in other words, if you're just doing testing, there's no point optimizing, right out of the gate. You may as well just pay a little bit extra, see if you get results. When you get results, then you can optimize. But in the beginning, it's unknown territory, right? So you don't know how much competition there is, what headlines are going to work, what click-through rates you're going to get, how much you're going to pay. So the way I do it is just say, okay, here's how much I'm willing to pay, and here's my budget, and then do the best I can with that. And then if I find that I'm not getting enough traffic, I have to be willing to maybe bump up the budget. And if it gets to the point where the only way I can get traffic is to pay way more than my budget will allow, then I'll probably look for another advertising source. Okay. And Facebook or Google, well, there's two answers to that. One is, depends on where your market hangs out the most, right? So if your market is active on Facebook and there's a large demographic representation of them, and they have lots of fields in their profile that you can trigger your ads on, then right now Facebook is easier to use and less what's the word I'm looking for? Less strict about the landing page, so you can test stuff faster. Now, depends what field you're in. Like if you're in the health and fitness, nutrition, any place where people make claims and stuff like that, you're gonna have to be really careful that you stay on the right side of the terms of service. But as long as you do that, I think my inclination today would be to do Facebook before I would do Google. Google has gotten challenging. It's gotten a little complex. They've gotten very expensive, although now some would say, well, with everybody abandoning Google and going to Facebook, it may be a good value again. But if I was going to do search engine marketing, in fact, I would probably recommend that you do MSN Ad Center instead of Google. Just because they don't have as many restrictions on ad groups and campaigns and structures and relevancies and all that kind of stuff. You still have to become a little bit of a master at advertising with Google on AdWords, and not as much if you use MSN Ad Center. Generally speaking, you should see better response from search engine than from Facebook, only because people are actively searching for those terms, but not necessarily, right? Generally speaking, that would be true, but not necessarily, because just because you get a lot of searches doesn't mean you get a lot of conversions. But from a point of view of, are they more qualified? Some would argue, if I'm on the computer looking for a solution to a problem, or looking for a product that I want to buy, then I'm probably a lot more qualified than if I'm in my Facebook account just reading emails from my friends and family, and I happen to see a banner that is of interest to me. So I would still, right now, from the ease, from the convenience, from the price point, from the competition, from the sheer size of the market, I would start with Facebook personally in most cases, right? Depends on the market you're after. Your audience may not be on Facebook, and if they're not, then you move over. But if there's a representation of your audience on Facebook, today I would start there and work that out as best I can before I started going into search marketing. The other thing I would do is, don't consider just a search marketing. Think also about content marketing. And content marketing is the other side of the house on Google AdWords. It's where instead of bidding on a particular keyword, you are picking sites that you want your ad to appear on. And this is an inventory of websites, third-party websites that are not Google websites. They're just, they could be like, New York Times or about.com or ehow.com, just, people who are affiliated through Google because they allow Google ads to be shown on their websites. So what you can do is go into the content network and find which one of those sites are most relevant to you. In fact, you could drill down to a specific page. And if you were, for example, if you were Mitchell and you were saying, well, I want to talk to people about getting ripped six-pack abs, and there happened to be an article on ehow.com on, 3 exercises that you need to do today to get ripped abs by tomorrow, well, if they allow Google advertising on there, I would say, hey, I want my ad to show up next to that article. Right, so that's placement. It's a little bit of placement advertising. So that would probably work very well in addition to search engine marketing. And those are probably the 3 that I would start with: Facebook, MSN Ad Center, and Google content or / placement advertising. And again, set my budget, do the best I can, optimize based on my budget, and if I'm getting traffic, then start working on conversions before I jump the traffic up. And once my conversions are working, then I'm making a profit. I know how much I can afford to spend. Then I go back and jump up my my advertising budget. Okay, hopefully that helps. Okay, wow, we got lots of questions tonight. Okay, 9:30. We're gonna have to motor here. We may not get to everybody, but I'll see what I can do. David says, I'm thinking an appeal to loss would be losing out on women at the beach, not keeping up with your children, etc., having a fat gut. Yep. Okay, so that's probably from Mitchell. So Mitchell, that's a comment from David, which is an interesting, way to look at this is, one thing is you can tell people that they're going to get six-pack abs. Another one is, what they don't get if they don't have six-pack abs, i.e., the hot women on the beach, for example. And so you could, you could test that out in your headline as well. Because remember, as humans, we tend to be twice and sometimes more than twice as motivated to avoid pain than we are to achieve pleasure. And so pleasure being the six-pack abs and pain being rejection, that might be a really powerful thing to test in your headline. Thanks, David. Great suggestion. God, you guys are good. All right. JP says, I work in the agriculture industry and it's clear not a lot of potential clients are on the net. Have you any advice on how to target them? Well, I don't really know a lot about the agriculture industry, but I'm going to say that when you're dealing business to business, when they're not looking on the net, you might want to try things like find out which magazines you might want to advertise in, or maybe contribute articles to, or maybe buy the mailing list from them. You might want to think about, going to the SRDS and advertising, to a mailing list through postcards. You might want to think about industry associations. Can you become a guest speaker? Can you give them a piece of free white paper or information that they might want to distribute to their members? Right? It will be a little bit more offline, but you can still do an information-based kind of thing where you're looking for channels that they already consume advertising through, and then seeing if you could partner by providing information through those channels. So even if you run an ad in a magazine, what you'd be doing is you'd be saying, hey, if you want a copy of this book, then come online and order it, right? So you would take the offline folks and bring them off online, and hopefully you can move them into your mailing list and stuff like that. But if they're not actively looking online, then you've got to look at where are they looking, what are they reading, what are they watching, what are they listening to that has advertising already, and could you piggyback on that advertising either by buying media or by contributing great content that particular channel will want to publish your content for free. And of course, if you're an expert in your field, then you could speak at industry associations, chambers of commerce, trade shows, and so on and so forth. So those are just things that come to mind off the top of my head I think might work for you. Ken says, "Hi Lou, I'm considering purchasing a URL that is being sold by a company that buys up domains, holds them, and sells them for as much as possible. Do you have experience with these businesses, and do you have any idea how negotiable they'll be?" Yeah, that's a great question. You know, how negotiable? You know, everything is negotiable, right? So the better you are, here's the trick I think that there is to this. You've got to understand what the leverage points are, right? Like if you go and you buy a house, then you know that some of the things that are negotiable could be things like, well, the lawn's going to need repair, and that roof is 20 years old. It's, you know, I'm going to have to fix that up, and this kitchen, man, I can't live in this kitchen. I'm going to have to invest 20 grand in there, and all of that sort of chops down the perceived value of it, and then you get a better deal. Well, so the trick here is to find out what these guys see as as what adds to the perceived value, and you can be sure that from their end they've got all those arguments figured out. So the way to leverage the negotiation is get your own broker, for one thing, to do the negotiation on your behalf, or you know, make the best offer that you can, and you know, go blind. And if they say okay, then that's fine. They may be motivated to sell, right, like any other thing. But I think the most effective way, if you're not really up on that, is to get somebody who is, and maybe get them to negotiate for you. Especially if it's a really high ticket that you're talking about. If it's like, you know, a few $100 or whatever, then just make your best offer and see if they get it. But you have to be reasonable too. You know, if you're dealing with someone who buys and sells domains professionally, unless for some reason they're in some financial danger or situation that, you know, it makes them highly motivated, you know, you give them a lowball offer, they're just going to blow you off, right? So you have to sort of understand, like, is what they're asking reasonable? And if you go on, you know, buydomains.com or things like that, you'll get a sense of, you know, what domains are going for and which ones have the real premium associated with them. So a little bit of homework, do some research, make your best offer, and if it's really high ticket, consider getting an expert to negotiate on your behalf. I think is the recommendations I'd make for you. All right, so Ken says, thanks, you are welcome. And Mitchell says, thanks for the help, got to run, catch the replay, good idea. And I could use that strategy in different major cities to get a decent amount of top page traffic. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Now, just for the recording here, now Robert may know better because, you know, he's probably a little bit more up on this. But I had the impression that you had to have some kind of physical address in each of the places where you actually run Places ads. So, you know, just do your homework and find out how that works. But definitely, the more you can target, you can have ads running all over the planet, each one very locally targeted, but they all, you know, happen to come back to your ebook and your sales page. That's perfectly okay. So good idea there, Mitchell. And Robert says it's a program called Traffic Geyser. Yeah, Traffic Geyser. Oh, that's interesting. So they do that for you as well. I thought that was Main Street Marketing Machine. So they do. Oh, I guess they use Traffic Geyser. Okay. So Traffic Geyser, or it's actually the site you're thinking of, Robert, is Tube Mogul, TUBEMOGUL, which is the free version. You know, the sort of place to get started before you go up to Traffic Geyser, which is kind of the Cadillac. So good. Thanks, Robert. Ulrika. Okay, we'll try to make this as the last question. And I think we've cleared pretty much all of them. Ulrika, I have a question about selling. It's really important for me. Okay, so let me open your line, Ulrika.
Hello.
Yes, there you are.
Hi, Lou. How are you?
Doing well. How are you?
Yeah, I'm a bit anxious because I sent you a question by email, and it's quite long. I don't know if you have the nerve to read it, but it's about how to sell now that I've been ripped off, and I'm scared that once I put my product out, it's going to be, you know, taken by the same guy. Now I don't have the list that he has, and I'm not as fast as him. So, and he has lots of different sites. They have different names, but usually they have the main keyword in them. So I'm afraid that I'm gonna kind of have Nicole go for a bad ride that I can't predict at all. So I would like to know what would be a good strategy for me to. I don't want to quit and give up, but I'd like to be, you know, doing the intelligent thinking instead of the stupid one.
Okay, so tell me what you mean by how do I. What do you mean by how do I sell? What is he gonna? What are you afraid he's gonna take?
I figured that if I put my an ad, for instance, for this product. It's in the name of the home study course. The keyword is in there. If I put an ad on it, I'm sure that they're scraping, and if I put it on I'm not going to put it on the blog, but if I advertise for it, I'm afraid it's going to end up on his site or in his content.
Well, what's going to end up on his site?
My home study course, the content of the product, product. Because it's very, very competitive. I mean, this guy, and there's others like who operate this in the same way. We looked at it last time together. It was about my opt-in incentive being put up on a site. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm afraid that the same thing is going to happen with my product. So, because I guess they are kind of having some kind of an alert on what's happening on my site.
Mm-hmm.
And on all sites of this kind. And I know that he's advertising somewhere that I think on YouTube that he has over 20 years researched everything that's on the market and so on. He's basically taking ideas from where he can and puts it into something that he calls comprehensive method or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So this is my scary spot, that if I put up ads, well, of course, he can just see it and then buy the product, and then.
But what's if he's that good, and he's got sites everywhere and he knows marketing? What makes you think he hasn't already done it?
Well, because he hasn't been able to put his hands on my product because I haven't put it online yet.
Oh, you haven't put it online yet? Okay.
No, so that's because before I do it, I don't want to make a mistake. That's my question.
Okay, so I got you. So he hasn't done this yet, but you think that as soon as you put it online, he's going to get it.
There, I had some ideas that maybe this is how I should maybe go about things, but you probably have much more light to this than me.
Yeah. So okay.
Because I mean, he doesn't. He has the machine and the appetite. I have the content. I have more content than him, but I don't have the stamina.
Okay.
Now he can slash the price because he didn't pay for it anyways, and he can go under the price, but he's all over the place.
No, I got it. I have to rush because we need to close. But here, I got you. I got what you're saying. So I'm going to try to give you a couple of tips. It's not going to be the total solution, right? But a couple of ideas here. So first of all, you need to understand and share with Nicole so she understands that this is a very real possibility. Okay, because even if you put total digital media protection on your product, he can
just quickly. It's not about the protection. It's about the strategic. How can I avoid to be advertising?
You can't. You can't. If you don't advertise, you don't get any customers, right?
Because I have to have a list before I can compete with him. I mean, after that he can steal it.
Yeah, but he could get on your list, and then he gets all your messages. Then he knows where your product is. He spends $200, he buys it. You cannot do business defensively. It's impossible. Especially, it's kind of like saying, how do I stop people from bombing my planes? You can't. No matter how much you try to defend, the fact they have an advantage that you don't. And like the government spends gazillions of dollars trying to defend, and still they're vulnerable. So it's the truth is you can't, and the sooner you kind of can bring yourself to accept that, and then also very important because you have a partner, to tell Nicole that, hey, this is a real risk that we're going to run here, that this is a potential. Now, what you can do. So there are a couple of things you can do that are going to help deter, but ultimately, if he's that determined, he's going to get your stuff. So let's assume that you have a blog and you have membership site and you have password protection, and even that you put real-time like RMTP streaming so that people can't download it and all this kind of thing. Let's say you even did all that. All he has to do is play it on his computer, record it, and now he's got it. So the question is, what is he distributing? Now, if the content has Nicole on video or on the voice, or it's her material, and she says, I'm Nicole, here's my site, I'm Nicole, here's my site, then whatever he distributes is very clearly not going to be his stuff. right? So what you can do is you can make the content so personalized that it doesn't make sense for him to just say, unless he converts it, translates it, has somebody rewrite it, which people do, but at least then he's not selling your stuff and pretending that it's his. So if it's Nicole's voice, if it's Nicole's face, if it's Nicole's websites in the content, then at least people will know, hey, wait a second, this isn't his stuff, right? And as much as possible, write the content in such a way that some of the things that they have in the content, they must be members in order to get it. So even if he if he gives away stuff, you're going to say, well, there's, for example, what you said the other day was really good, right? So have a weekly call with Nicole or a monthly call with Nicole. Well, even if I get your stuff from him and it says, well, if you want to be on a weekly call with Nicole, you need to become a member and sign up. Well, guess what? Now I've brought him back, right? So what you want to do as much as possible is make the content as personal and as branded to Nicole as possible. Use her name as much as possible. Use her image, her face, her voice as much as possible. Talk about your websites and let people know that even though they have part of the answer, they don't have access. Okay, what he cannot duplicate is access to your expert. And that's one of the things that if you promote it heavily in your content, that people might be inclined to come back and participate with you either as customers or opt-ins or something like that. And there's not a lot you can do beyond that. But if you get Nicole in the content as much as possible.
Well, she is the one who is doing all the demos. She's in the
Beautiful.
video from the beginning to the end.
Beautiful.
So he's not going to be able to play hers. I mean. But he's going to take an actor and do exactly what she's doing and sell it and cheaper than us.
That's fine. That's okay. So then you're just then there are going to be some people that want to work with the actor, and there's going to be some people that want to work with Nicole, and
Then you think we still will have a market?
Oh yeah, that's a big market. That's huge. I mean, I always remember when Bill Gates came out with Windows, people would, the Chinese were ripping them off. I mean, there were more copies of Windows sold in China than there were in North America. Well, not sold. They were like given away or copied or, sold for $1 or whatever. And somebody interviewed Bill Gates and said, "Aren't you worried about that?" He goes, "No, I'm developing North America. I look at them as my marketing team for China." Because he knew at some point people are going to say, well, I need the support, I need the upgrades, I need to work with the original. So he kind of looked at it as they were doing him a favor. And I never forgot that lesson, and it's because you can never stop people who are going to do that maliciously. They're going to find a way. But if you have an expert who has credentials and she has presence and all that, there are always going to be people who are going to know the difference between some fly-by-night scam artist and some real professional. And especially in a field like yours, I would think that that's very important, and that's an opportunity that you could play up on that. So your biggest strategy will be to get Nicole's face out there everywhere. Get it on YouTube, get it on Facebook, get it on your blogs, get it on Vidler, get it, use TubeMogul like Robert was just saying. Get it everywhere and have her, and always point back to her sites, Name the technique. If you name the technique and give it a name like Nicole, Nicole's super duper technique.
We have a name for it. Yeah.
Fantastic. And then if she's all over the internet teaching her technique and naming it, it gets harder and harder for him to rip you off, right? So
I have lots of small short trailers that I can use all over the place where she talks about her, expertise and her technique.
Yeah, so I think your strongest defense is very strong marketing, very strong branding, and always make sure that she's visible in all of the content. So if he wants to duplicate it, if he wants to spend the money, to pay an actor and a studio and all that kind of stuff, well, fine, let him do it. But in the meantime, you go out and you put Nicole everywhere. Make her as visible as possible. Let her refer to her technique by name. Let her refer to the websites, and let her know that there's very special access to her, a professional, an expert, a credible, high integrity character that they can have access to if they're clients. And I think that'll be much more productive and probably a lot more fun for you than to have to worry about every which way this guy can rip you off, because if he wants to, he's going to. But he cannot duplicate the expert, the brand, the credibility, the naming, the trade. I mean, he can get cheap copies of it, But if you work on getting her to be at the front edge of her market, that's probably going to be your greatest advantage in the market, and probably the most security you'll have against somebody like that.
So you would suggest that just before I start advertising, I would go and spread her all over all over the places where there's high visibility, and then I can put up my ads up.
Yeah, so build your list first, right? So build your list with content and have her on the video, right? And have her describing the technique or giving advice or insights or whatever, and then build the list. And then when you launch your product, you're going to initially launch it to your internal list. So you're going to have great visibility, a nice big list, and then you launch your product. And from there, hopefully you'll build on that and get even more presence and more sales.
Great.
But just remember, all the content, as much as possible, make it so that if he wants to copy you, he's gonna have to hire an actor, and he's gonna have to hire a studio, and he's gonna have to incur expenses, because maybe at one point he'll just go, too much trouble, because there'll be other people who aren't as expert to model. Okay.
Sounds good.
All right.
Well, this is it's very good help for me, because I wouldn't have been able to figure this out by myself.
Yeah, great.
I'm too scared to make a wrong turn, because I don't want her to lose her.
I understand, and I think it's a good thing that absolutely, and I really respect you for that, and I think that you ought to be very honest about that with her and let her know what your strategy is to protect her, and make sure she gives you the thumbs up and understands what's up, and then you'll be fine. It's really hard to duplicate or copy a leader in their field without people recognizing it.
Yeah, well, she certainly is. I mean, she's really doing a good job, so I think we're safe on that side.
Perfect.
And we do have a name for the method and so on, and it's not something we invented yesterday. It's been, existing since 25 years. So.
But here's the important thing. It's not important who used it first; it's who markets it first. Mm-hmm. So if you want people to associate the technique with Nicole, you need to get her talking about it everywhere as soon as possible.
Yeah. Well, I get your point. And
yeah.
I can see that it's we need to go on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, as many places as we can, of course, on the blog, and
right.
And so that they can see her face and hear her voice.
Absolutely.
And her content.
And in the product as well, right? In the product as well, because then people will want access to her, because they're going to see her, they're going to connect with her, they're going to resonate with her energy, with her experience. So when she says, "Hey, by the way, come back and become a member and talk to me, once a week on the call," no matter where they got your product, they're going to come back and want to be part of her inner circle.
Okay, great.
All right.
Yeah, she's in the product, and the product is done already.
Beautiful.
So.
Perfect. That's excellent.
Great.
Okay.
Good. So
Beautiful.
Thank you so much, Lou. I really appreciate it. That helped me a lot.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. Good luck with that.
Thanks. Thank you.
And
I'll
of course.
keep you posted.
Yes, I was just going to say, of course, please come back and let us know how it goes.
Yep. I
All
will.
right. Thank you. Alrighty, so that's I think we're going to call it a wrap. You know what? We got through all of the questions, except we didn't get a chance to come back to Pia. So Pia, if you'll come on the next coaching call, we'll start with you and pick up where we left off. I'm sorry it's a little bit too late to continue right now, but I see you say here, "Hi Lou, thanks for your help. We'll be ready with the research next time. We'll make a press release ready so I maybe can change the direction before sending." Thanks, Pia. I appreciate your understanding, and I'm looking forward to talking about that on our next coaching call. Okay, so with that, let me switch your screen so you can see what I'm seeing. There we go. Oops, don't see it yet. Come on. There we go. And just a quick reminder that Thursday we are not going to have another coaching call. I'm going to be pre-recording some training, and I'll make it available for you by Thursday night or Friday morning. So watch for that as this week's training, and I enjoyed the opportunity to talk with you all tonight. Hey, thanks for your participation. It was really awesome, and I really appreciate it. And I think I'd like to do more of this, where we reach out to the folks on the call for input and ideas and support and suggestion, more of a nice big mastermind. It seems to, I love that energy. It seemed to work really well. Hope you found it did as well. Okay, so until we meet the next time, I really appreciate you being here. Your being here allows me to do this work, which is fun and fulfilling. So thanks for allowing that for me. And till the next time, thank you. Good night. Namaste.